You and I know money-making principles, so you earn all you can, save all you can, invest all you can, so you can contribute all you can. And you came here with a unique destiny to do something nobody else can do. If you write a book, you get to go places you can't go any other way. As many speeches as you can give, can't talk to 8 billion people. You can get a book to 8 billion people.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Average Sucks Show. And I got to tell you, we have a guest today that is way above average. And somebody, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got ideas, you got stuff that you want to share with the world deep in your heart, and it's not getting out there to the world, we've got someone today that I'm excited for you to get a chance to meet. And this gentleman that I have known for about 5 years, got introduced through a very, very dear friend of mine. And he's someone that when I say his name, you're going to say, man, I know that guy. He's got stuff written that's in my house. You know, he's been around my family for years. My parents know him. My grandparents know him. My friends know him. Someone that is a serial entrepreneur for over 70 years. And I want to let that sink in for a second. I don't know how long you've been in business, but over 70 years. He has went out there and sold over $2 billion worth of books and $1 billion worth of licensing. He was a co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul back in the day. And beyond that, he has helped thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs not just take their ideas, get them written, get them published, most importantly, get them sold. And I'm excited about the opportunity right now to introduce my friend, someone that we get a chance to learn from here today, Mark Victor Hansen. Thrilled to be here.
To be with you,
I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this today.
I'm excited for them because we need more entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur takes a problem, fixes it, solves it, scales it, and then makes a vast fortune. And there's more fortunes to be made today because there's 8.4 billion of us that need something, and every one of us can pick some little itty-bitty niche to grow rich in.
I love how you put that right like that. Make it about them.
Yeah.
So you and I could talk, but everything we share is a conversation to assist them. So 70 years, people are thinking 70 years, an entrepreneur. I mean, where did it all begin? I mean, where did your like first endeavor as an entrepreneur begin?
Well, as a little 8-year-old, I was making potholders. My parents supplied the stuff,
Where
and
you
I sold
from?
in the neighborhood, but Waukegan, Illinois.
Okay.
But my parents were Danish, and they came out of both World War II and the Depression. You'll love this. My uncle, Sven, 14 years older than my dad, Paul, created the Black Band, and we took all the Jews into Denmark out of Germany, and they had a $100,000 hit. I get goosebumps telling you this on every one of the family members. Like you too?
Yeah.
It's a chicken soup story, right? You get goosebumps, God bumps, chili bumps, and my uncle came up to my dad and said, "Here's $100 American bill, a passport. You're out of here tomorrow. You're never coming back. I'll never see you again. I'm kissed both cheeks, but I don't want you dead." And Dad arrives with no English. There's no English as a second language when you get to America. So your situation out of luck when luckily he found a black man who spoke Danish. I mean, the chance of that's
impossible. And possible.
First of all, in Denmark, everybody's got blonde hair and blue eyes, and he'd never seen a black man before. And the guy spoke eloquent Danish. He said, "Excuse me, but why do you speak Danish?" The guy said, "You own my island." My dad said, "If I owned an island, I wouldn't be broke." What do you mean? He didn't know that the Danes had conquered St. Croix Island in the Caribbean, and everybody spoke Danish. Did you know that?
I had no idea till now.
Yeah.
I had to take you come into the show to teach me this. This is fantastic.
It's a beautiful island, by the way. I've been there a couple times.
Never been. So you started as an entrepreneur about 9 years old, you said?
At 9 years old.
People doing the math right now. 70,
right. Yeah, I'm 77.
So 77.
So we're saying it's basically 70 years. And I started selling greeting cards door to door. My mother was a great saleswoman. She ran the front of our bakery. My dad ran the back and was a great Danish baker. But we lived in Little Denmark, so you could get away with not speaking English, which is tough on my parents, which is too bad. But that's the way it was, right? So they didn't have a lot of money. You don't make money at 5 cents a donut, right? The joke, of course, from my friend is that everybody ought to eat a donut a day, but only eat the whole.
Yeah.
Is for calories. I'm sorry, I just couldn't resist doing
That's a good joke.
Yeah. Anyhow, so Dad didn't have any money, and I didn't like wearing hand-me-downs for my older brother, so I said, I'm going to buy my own clothes. So I started selling greeting cards. I sold more than anyone. I sold 367 boxes in 1 month.
Which company was it?
It was American Greeting Cards.
American Greeting Cards.
Here's what's beautiful.
Wow.
I told you we're going to do licensing. They fly in their Gulfstream back when I lived in California a decade ago, and they wanted us to take their license, right? They were competing well, and I wrote all the greeting cards. We sold 897,000 greeting cards in one time at Christmas at grocery stores.
Wow.
So the company I worked with 50 years earlier comes back again in a way that there's no way you can predict this stuff.
So you're telling me the company that you worked with at like under 10 years old came back later you do business with today?
Yeah.
The grandkids or is it still owned by the same company? Same people?
No.
Okay. It's been
No.
sold
Different people, and they didn't even know I sold greeting cards for them at 9 years old. But the point is, and I wrote all these because Jack and I were taking. Long story as short as I can make it, I read over 1 week, and I'm a very fast reader, George Lucas's book, Steven Spielberg's book. They had made $800 million in ET, but they made $1.5 billion licensing.
Wow.
You've met Jack, Dr. Canfield.
Yes.
And I went into Jack and I said, Jack, we're going into licensing. He said, what the hell? You don't know nothing. I said, look, I was in graduate school with the smartest guy on the planet, Bucky Fuller. We had to have general systems theory. We're on the outside, but in 1 year, I'll meet everybody. I'll talk to everybody. I'll read every book. I'll know who does every kind of licensing that exists because, you just absorb the stuff. And I became, we did $157 million worth of dog food a year. And it's beautiful because you get 15%. It's clean. It's neat. I don't take returns. It's we did a little book in a thing, and everybody, at the time my little daughter was becoming a vet. She was a little kid, but we had 4 dogs, and I said 3 things when we did with Diamond Pet Food. I said, number 1, the dogs got to like it because I just did the Purina, and they had a great packaging, great placement. They were number 1 month, and then it crashed. And when the chairman came in, he said, what's wrong? He said, the dogs don't like it. I mean, what does that mean? To you and I as an entrepreneur, it means you got to make sure your customer wants it.
Yes, the dogs.
Same thing in the book. We have every book read by 200 people and rate every story, and we take the names off of the author, so the story has to stand on its own integrity, because you and I know feedback's a breakfast of champions. If you don't get feedback early, you're going to crash later.
Yeah, you're not going to know exactly what it was you were dealing with down the road.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I saw you speak, I think the first time in 1998 or 99 in Vegas at a company called the Tax People.
Wow.
Michael Cooper, back in I don't know if you remember this company. It's been out of business, and you were talking about personal development goal setting. One of the first times I ever heard, even before I started knowing Jim Rohn and all that stuff.
A great friend. He and I worked together all over the world.
Jim, I worked events with him. I helped out, and one of the things that I recognized is you started sharing about personal development up there, and it was brand new to me. Where was your initial like? Where did you first find the idea of goals and getting what you want and somebody teaching you and sitting down? Because right now it's innate. I know that if you were to rip off with everybody right now how to set goals, go get what you want, where was it original? Because I know for me it was in direct sales. But where did you find and who was it that introduced you to the idea that you can and will get better? It's not just about the drive inside of you. Like, when did you start learning about mindset, personal development? Where was that?
Wow, I love it the way you asked the question. No one's ever asked me that before. So
I told you, new questions. Average sucks show. It's not average.
So it's 1973 or 4, and I go bankrupt. I've been with Bucky. I tried to be him. I built the Wall Street Record. Buckminster Fuller.
Special.
Yeah, a genius.
I listen to his and Werner Erhardt's stuff.
Oh,
and it's together, the combo.
I was with Warner and Bucky a lot of times. Like, we were at Madison Square Garden together. It was amazing. And amazing thing, looking at Warner up on stage, he had pants that were so well tailored, they never wrinkled once during a whole 8 hours.
I don't know how he did that.
I thought, what the hell?
That press shirt he had.
Yeah, someday I got to have clothes that are that cool, right? Now I do, but it just is amazing. I didn't know that there's suits like this one that are 160 or 180 threads, so they don't wrinkle. They're wrinkle free. Yeah. More than you wanted to know.
Yeah. No, it's good. You fold them up, throw in the bag.
Back to your
question. Back to the question. The question is where was it? When did it happen? Where you literally understood the concept? I know where I was when I first figured out personal development. I think it was somebody handed me How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm like, wait a second, you could learn yourself better? So where was it? Where was it? When was it? How did you get involved? Because it's like that opening moment an entrepreneur needs.
So I went bankrupt, and then I wanted to be a speaker, and I in our little book, Ask, The Bridge from Your Dream to Your Destiny, we say, ask
that's a
yourself.
Must get for everybody.
Yourself. Everyone's got to have one of these.
Yep, that's
ask
a great
yourself,
book.
Ask
Mine's on my
others,
desk upstairs.
ask God. Yeah. We'll give one to everyone in your staff today. But the point is, and sign it. And, if you come to one of my seminars, get one, let me sign it. But I crashed in Bernoff, and I said, okay, God, what am I supposed to do? And God said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to talk to people that care about things that matter, that make a life transformative, unique difference in their life. Next morning, I'm at breakfast with my 3 roommates, and I say, any of you guys know anyone speaking that's young, that's not a Broadway star, not a celebrity, not a cotton top like me, white hair, not a lawyer, not a doctor. Guy said, yeah, the kid's 10 or 12 years older than you. He talks to real estate. But real estate, remember, in 1974, interest rate's 18%. Real estate has crashed. It's dead. And the guy said, here's my ticket. You just go out to Hop Hog, Long Island, New York. I watched this guy take 500 people that are totally dead, You say, have you ever brought life to an audience? This guy, in 3 hours, wound them up. This is before lavalier mics. It's hard to believe, but by the end of the talk, he was talking like this. Named Chip Collins. He became my mentor and friend.
Jim Collins. Wow.
You know Chip?
I know of Jim, yeah.
Yeah, well, he made a lot of people successful, like Barbara Cochran.
Yeah.
He made her a billionaire but he really helped me. And every Friday we had a mastermind lunch where 2 come together and talk. But this day, I watch him afterwards. I say, let me take you to lunch. Chip said, I don't want to go to lunch with you. What do you want? I said, I want to do what you do. Oh! And his voice was so burned out from speaking. He said, kid, go get a real job. And I said, no, I want to do what you're doing. Long story short, he told me the 4 questions asked. Said, I own the real estate in the 5 boroughs of New York. So you don't touch this. I'll teach you how to do it. And he told me the questions, teach, prospect, and presenting close. And then he went to his car and he gave me a set of tapes by Paul J. Meyer. Do you know Paul J. Meyer?
No.
Well,
I'm going to be on eBay later tonight buying these. Yeah.
No. Well, Paul J. Meyer and I became great friends. Matter of fact, he's the first guy I ever sat with. And he said, look, you got to take your pen, and if you really want to be a billionaire, you write down, what are you going to do to give away $1 billion? And he said, it'll change your whole mindset.
So give it away.
Give it away.
Give it away.
Yeah, because remember, if you're giving it away, you've got $10 billion. Or if you want to, whatever the number is you want. But he was a billionaire, and he owned 63 companies, and I was working for Prepaid Legal as one of his many companies, and we both wore pink holiday ties, and we were just...
Harlan Stonecipher back in the day. That's Prepaid Legal, yeah. I'm just bringing up memories, yeah.
Who?
Harlan Stonecipher. Didn't he own Prepaid Legal back in the day?
J. Paul Meyer started it and was a Horatio guy like I am, but and we were befriended, and we were traveling with Jim Rohn, and he also owned TP. He owned a lot of stuff, and especially
People's
in the self-help.
Yeah.
And then he bought all the houses in Waco, Texas. And so he's really, really well off. But he and I ended up, he said, whenever you come to a meeting that I'm at, you and I are having lunch privately. And he said, I got to teach you, kid, because you were crazy. You listened to my tapes, and then you went out and taught it. And before that, I'd been given a tape, but I was too cocky and arrogant and sophomoric and everything else to listen. Because why should you listen? Well, you listen because you got to absorb wisdom if you're going to teach wisdom. And I wanted to get to the highest level of teaching and living and being wise.
So this is when, how old are you at this time?
I was 26.
So you're 26 years old. What do you feel allowed that to kick in? And I'm always fascinated by this because from the moment I saw you, I'm like, he doesn't just talk it, he doesn't just think it, he lives it. What do you think it was that allowed you? Because nowadays you can give a kid a book, they can download it. You had to go to the library back then, as Jim would say. You had to go in, get the book. You had to go to a bookstore and buy it, right? I mean, like, these kids get instant access today. You could hand them something. What do you think allowed it just to trigger in you and just become part of you? Because it sounds like it just, you heard it, you did it. Like, what was it that was special that you actually heard the audios? Because 9 out of 10 people you hand the audios to, they don't do anything with it.
They don't even listen. That's it's a crime. Even if they paid, they bought 300, 500, 1,000.
I got people to buy a $10,000 program. They never show up.
Yeah. Oh, well, to me, that's tragic. But, I was addicted, man. I'd sit in front of Jim Rohn and take notes, and Jim told us how to do it and everything. So, and Jim was one of the giants, but I joined NSA. I was an original founding member of 17 when $500 for me was dear, right? And so back in the prehistoric days, I met Cabot Robert, and he had a tape that really helped me called "Are You the Cause or Are You the Result?" And you got to live at cause is what he's saying, and cause is you ask in consciousness, implode it into subconscious, which always figures out how. Now remember, when I'm 9 years old, I don't know how I want to buy this bicycle next spring, and I don't know how. And all of a sudden, I'm reading a Boy Scout Life magazine that said you can sell greeting cards on consignment. I quickly looked up what that meant. I said, I can go to sell it. I said, Mom, how am I going to do this? She said, you're going to walk up to every neighbor on a Saturday morning and say, I'm earning my own bicycle, Mrs. Jones. Would you like to invest in 1 box of Christmas cards or 2? They always thought I was a cute little freezing my ass off little kid. in a big furry mitten with a big furry, mitten. And they said, come in here, blow your nose, kid, and then we'll buy it. And they bought $2 worth of, and so I sold all those, and I had enough money by spring to buy the bike, which my dad never believed I could turn it around. Like today, you and I, if we were to buy a Trek bike, they're $12,000, and that's the kind of bikes I wanted to have. I wanted low handlebar racing bicycle. I wanted to be, and I was a really good bicyclist. I was a Windy City wheelman in Chicago and could go all the way from, it doesn't mean anything to you maybe, but from Chicago to Kenosha is a serious race.
That's a pretty hike.
Yeah, that's a serious, especially for a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old. I was winning most of the time, at least in my age category.
How far was that?
Well, they're supposed to be 50 miles, but it sure felt longer.
Yeah, when you're on it, it always seems longer. It's like any adventure that we go on and what we do. This is fascinating. And the reason I've learned that, were your parents supportive of you being an entrepreneur?
100%. Dad was an entrepreneur, had his little bakery, and called himself a proprietor. I don't think he really knew what it meant, but he loved saying, I'm the proprietor of the elite bakery. And he wanted my brothers, or 4 of us, to take it over. And I said, Dad, I'm a white glove guy. I'm not sure what a white glove guy is, but I'm pretty sure I am.
Interesting. So let me ask, we're sticking on this topic because it's a strange question. You said nothing's off the table. What would you recommend to people out there? There's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs here that are parents, or they want their kids to be more capitalist, a little more an entrepreneur. What would you do if you were to teach right now, whether it was teaching kids or grandkids or anything, to really promote, like, what is a lesson maybe even learned from your parents that they either taught you or didn't, or you have shared over the world that a parent right now could like share into a 9-year-old or even a 25-year-old? Maybe they finish college, maybe they're deciding whether to go to college. I want to promote entrepreneurship. You and I both know we're capitalists. We share that, that conservative values, capitalism. We share that old school American spirit of capitalism. I know that you and I both share that.
Constitutional capitalism with free enterprise.
Yes.
And what you got to teach every kid, and I taught my grandkids, knock on wood, is our little Everett. He house sits for people down here in Gilbert.
How old is he?
He's 12 years old and makes $1,000 a month. And he charged them $20 to guard their house, water their plants, walk their dog. They give him the key. He goes in, and he's in a pretty affluent neighborhood. But the point is, he's getting paid. And then it worked so well that, like you and I know, you got to hire assistants. So he hired his twin sibs. So you got Everett, and then the grand twins are 2 years younger than him, the little girl and little boy, and they take care of the stuff. And he just now has become a manager.
So you just
can I go one step further?
You can go 10 steps further.
So wanting to know about goal setting, because goal setting is goal getting, right? And I unwrap that, but I said to him, Ev, what is it you want to do? And he does 100 free throws a day. He says, well, Grampy, at 18, I'm going to be a Phoenix Sun, and I'm going to make $30 million a year. I said, holy cow. And then what? He said, well.
Oh, you said, and then what?
I said, then what? Not thinking he'd
awesome.
have an answer. And then he said, well, then at 45, I'm going to be a manager. I said, then what? He said, well, by 55, I'm going to own them. I said, son, do you know that that's $4.8 billion in today's dollars? And Grampy hasn't got that kind of money, and I'm not helping you. He said, don't worry, I have the money. And he is number one in his class. He is super athletic. All the girls, last year he was student body president with 800 little girls going, Everett.
Does he live here?
Yeah.
Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy.
And I'm watching all these little girls fall in love. He's very handsome. He's not into girls yet, but that'll change.
Very, very quickly. Give it a year or two. That's automatically going to change for him. So you're saying your response to, that's an interesting response. Then what? I don't know if you recognize you said that.
Yeah, I did.
Because it's like, you're like, okay, so you're just presupposing he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Is that a natural Mark Victor Hansen thing to say, then what? Because that's, like, if Chip over here would say, hey, I'm going to go get a brand new camera and get this, the natural, if he was a child, the natural parent would say, well, you sure you want to do that? You're saying, then what?
Yeah, and then what? Because if you do it from a biblical point of view, Moses said, I'm here, right, for you, God, meaning I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Well, he's asked me, how am I going to make a lot of money? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's talk it through. You tell me what you can do. And he said, I could house sit for everyone in the neighborhood. I said, they all leave. Rich people travel.
Yes, and they want someone to watch their house. And rich people like to save money and have a kid do it.
Right, and he's got his own cell phone, and he's got all their phone numbers, and he can call them, the husband or the wife or the oldest kid. I mean, this guy's got it down as a system. And if you'd asked me if I'd even ever thought of letting a kid, I would let him guard our house, of course, but the chances, and he knows all the dogs and if they got other animals and how many plants they got, and he's got it down to an algorithm, and I thought, wow. I mean, he's made it a system to take good care of it, and yet he gets up at 6 to learn Spanish by himself every day because he said, Grampy, you said I need to be able to handle all the Americas. I said, yeah, we got 50 million Hispanic Americans.
Yeah.
and 3/4 of them don't really speak English. I mean, because I got a lot of staff, and they just, nothing wrong with speaking Spanish. Habla español. That's not the problem. The problem is we need to be able to be communicative.
Yeah.
And this kid has traveled around the world with us. I mean, I'll go for one. I thought I wanted to teach the kids everything about America and the world before they graduated 18, then they think parents are stupid and all that. So this summer we took them. First, we went to the White House. I got us an invitation, then to the Capitol, then to the Museum of the Bible, and then to all the statues. And then we went to New York with the whole family, all 6 grandkids, right? And we'll have 12 when it's over, I think, because you've met my daughters and that, and they're still busy. So I'll leave it at that. In New York, they got to go to first of all, we went to the Aladdin play, then we ate at Sardi's. Have you ever eaten at Sardi's?
I have not.
Well, Sardi's is where all the movie stars go, but all the Broadway people are on the second floor, so if you don't know that, you don't know it, and I didn't know it. And my friend said, well, I'll get you on the second floor, and you'll be with all the actors and actresses that you're going to be watching tonight. In the next couple of days, you're in New York. I thought, well, we got him to climb up to the top of the Statue of Liberty, because I did that once at 9 years old with my little brother, and we got a pass to that, because you ask for stuff. The guy who built the gloved hand is our dear friend who I want to have you have on the show, Terry Turok, for Michael Jackson. But he built the whole thing around the Empire State Building. So I said, Terry, I want a private tour. He said, you got it. What else you want? And I get goosebumps telling you that, because most people are afraid to ask. You've got to ask. I said, Terry, what are the coolest things to do in New York that nobody even knows or to think about? He said, well, there's this building that you can lay out on the glass at 106 stories and look down. I said, you mean like you and I used to at the World Trade Center? Sorry. He said, exactly. And I got pictures of my grandkids looking like this. I mean, there wasn't anything in New York. Oh, the best thing, though. I've been, I lived in New York 7 years, so I know my way around, or I thought I did. Yeah. Grandkids say, Grampy, I think, you've taken us to Andrew Carnegie's house, you've taken us to the Frick Museum and seen the best art in the world, but there's something you haven't done. I said, what haven't I done? I said, I think everybody tells us we should bicycle all the way around Central Park. I didn't know you could do that. We bicycled for 3 hours around, it's big. You've been to New York, right? And Andrew Carnegie's house is there, and my friend Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's house, and I know where all of them are because I've been to them, but this blew my mind to do that and just have a ball with the grandkids and there are 8 of us bicycling. I can afford to rent 8 bicycles for as long as it takes.
You're a bike champion too.
Yeah, well, they didn't know that. I wasn't into out racing them, but because I always pulled up the rear in case one of the kids falls over and gets hurt. Grampy's there to be the heroic hero.
I love this. So you're a big advocate for entrepreneurship. And my daughter asked me the other day, and she asked me, she goes, Daddy, why do people, I mean, she is 13 now, so we don't say dad. We don't say daddy. But daddy, why, I don't know if you went through that phase, but she says that. I've had her on the podcast. And she's my little one. And she goes, why do these people do this stuff for you? And I said, do you want the secret? And I looked at her and I said, what? I said, here's why they do it. I ask. And she goes, is it really that simple? It'll work for me. It has nothing to do with your size or people know you or you're an author. And I said, no, I'll tell you the secret. When I had nothing, they did it for me. I asked. So the book Ask, for everybody seeing the gorgeous cover, the amazing book, how important is that as a centerpiece of your life, the idea of Ask? And I'd love for you to share about the book, and I'd love you to share about what that word really means, because you've mastered sales. You're an incredible speaker. You're great at sales. You're great at connecting. I mean, even when we met that one day with my good friend Tommy was here, Mello, he was doing a podcast a few years ago, and you walked in, you asked for him to meet, you guys met, you've done several books.
3 books with Tommy.
3 books.
So far,
Tommy's special guy. He's amazing, amazing human being. You asked. I watched you ask.
By the way, Tommy was told by his kids, by his teachers, you're nobody. All you are is obstreperous, I think is the word she used, and he didn't know what it meant at the time. But you're a pain in the ass
Michigan
in my
public school
class.
system. Yeah, I think it's Michigan public schools. Idiots. They told me when I was told I had ADD when I was a kid because that was an 80s problem.
He just did a book on ADD.
Yeah, and I call it adynamic disorder. Thank God my teacher told me, because they told me I have a 90% chance of not having an effective life.
Well, that's what they told him, that he'd never get a job, he'd never work, and he'd certainly never have employees.
He's building a $1 billion brand.
Yeah. He got 1,000 employees doing A1 truck, and now he owns, what's the flooring company? He made $500,000 first month.
Killing it. He had a guy come by, and I'll get back to Ask in a second. He had a guy come by my house, and I text him, like, hey, who's here? He's like, I'm not going to mention the name of the person. And the guy came by and he goes, hey, that's one of my first employees ever. And the guy didn't know that Tommy and I were friends. So he came by to work on something in my current house and went by, and the guy was amazing. Loved his job, loved what he did. And when I left, Tommy had mentioned to me, he's one of my first guys. Since he started working here, they set their goals of what they were going to do. A lot of what you talk about. He's from this, bought a house. He's got car. He's made $1 million in sales, like and in commissions. Like, it was just amazing how much he cares and bleeds into that. You guys were here. I wanted you guys to meet. You and I, Michael, had went to lunch, and then boom, you guys met. And he asked, somebody asked, how critical is that as a guiding principle, asking in the Mark Victor Hansen success principles?
Well, you got to ask yourself, what is it you really want out of life? Ask others to help you get it, and somebody will resonate with you. And that's called a mastermind. At its highest and best level, Andrew Carnegie's reading in the New Testament and said, holy cow, Jesus didn't do a miracle until he had 12 guys go in the same direction, water into wine at Canaan. And Andy said, well, I'll do that. And then he became the richest man in the world. He hired Frick, and I can name all the guys because I've been to every one of their houses.
I heard you say Frick Music. I had no idea because I've seen the show on TV, The Men Who Built America.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
I've seen it 10
but
times.
You need to go to his house at 92nd and 5th Avenue, and then you need to go to Scotland. Have you been to Scotland yet?
I have not.
And go to Dornoch. Now, this costs you $4,000 a day to stay there, and you're going to be with a lot of the who's who of the world.
Wow.
Because
everybody called Dornoch?
Yeah. Everybody wants to go to Andy's house, right? And it's got his own golf course, and I got to drive his Rolls Royce, and the little Dosette, the guy that takes you around, looks just like Andy, and he said, Dr. Hansen, why are you rich and I'm not? I said, because it's think and grow rich, but it's think and do and grow rich.
Yes.
I did the do. You haven't done the do.
You're still doing the thinking.
You know all the stuff, but you got to also go say, take some ACT ION, my friend. Now, back to the question you asked about.
Ask.
Everybody's got to learn to ask, and everybody knows ask and you'll receive, but they don't know that you got to ask with feeling and be at the end result before you even start. Live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled.
Walk me through
that. In other words, I wanted to be a professional speaker, and I get with Chip Collins, and then every week we meet, and he said, just take over the insurance. You call me anytime and ask me any question of Chip here says, I'm not hiring you. Why would I hire you? I'm training all the people. All of them didn't do that because what happened was so miraculous. I should tell you this. Chip said, I'll call 10 people and one of them will say yes. So the first day I'm out knocking doors, and right, I've only got this little old Volkswagen because the bankruptcy courts in New York Eastern District take everything from you. That was not a good idea, but that's what they did. Anyhow, 10th door at 6:30 at night, there's a big Cadillac sitting in front of this Metropolitan office. I'd already been there, but the guy wasn't there. I go in, there's nobody at the front desk. I go right to his desk. It says Big Tony on the door. I go, and the guy was...
In New York, Big Tony.
He was substantial. We just hit it off. We had a Vulcan mind meld because he thought I was going to sell insurance. I said, no, I want to sell you on seminars. He bought them. And Chip had taught me the killer question. He said, do you want to cut the check or have your secretary cut it? Tony said, I'm a big guy. I can cut the check. I'm ready to leave. And what he did was so amazing to me. He said, look, Mark, here's the list of everybody at Metropolitan, every general agent, every manager. This is a gold mine. And he said, you call them. You tell them, Big Tony, if they don't hire you, they got to talk to me and you're going to get hired. I had everything anyone could ever want to have because insurance is just like Taco Bell and Chick-fil-A put themselves where? Next to McDonald's. Yeah. Because a mother gets tired of Happy Meals. She said, man, a taco would be so much better than eating another hamburger.
I never even thought about that. So basically, they're used to going to that area.
Because McDonald's pays what's the traffic, who will stop, who can afford it. But the insurance industry is the same. Metropolitan and Pru owned it, and I was their biggest trainer. But and went around the world with them. But the point is, in their buildings, they always had all the other insurance companies, and nobody sees that until you'd see it. And then I saw it, and I said, wow, this is like a gold mine. So I'm learning how to ask early in the game. And I ask, back then, $100,000, remember, we're talking about 50 plus years ago, that's 250 work days times $400, $100,000. So I go to bed, 400, 400, 400, 400, 400. I wake up at 2:58 in the morning. I had a digital clock, and I looked and I go, okay, I never heard of this guy. Bill, and his full name and State Mutual. Never heard of that insurance company, but I wrote it down. Next morning, I'm going in the big Metropolitan office out in Dix Hills, and it says, Bill Widener, State Mutual. I go, now remember, you've heard me teach, so you got a physical body, 3D, but where the action is in the fourth dimension, which is a spiritual dimension, which is imagination is God, and imagination creates your reality, and everyone has access, but most people don't know it, so they don't use it, unless you study a book like mine and yours. So the point is, I go into this guy's office, again, nobody at the front desk, I go right to his office at the end, and it's rich, plush, expensive. I shake hands. Within 4 minutes, I'm walking out with a check for $400. He said to me, I didn't know anything except I felt so good about you. Why? Because I'd send out the resonation, right? Your mind is a full-time broadcasting and receiving station. You either are positive or you're negative. There's no gray area. It's like a woman is
on or
either
off.
pregnant or not. I was sending out the vibratory rate that I was going to be at. And same thing now with the goal I wrote down for being a world's best-selling author. I didn't tell anyone I wrote it down. I looked every day, 4 times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, program on my mind to say that I'm going to be, now if you go to Guinness Book of Records, I'm world's best-selling nonfiction author 59 times, #1 New York Times, and Miss Harry Potter is fiction. And we're going to catch up to her because the first story in Ask is the Fable of Michaela, which my wife wrote, you know Crystal very well, Prophetic Dreams. We've already had right here, when our agent told me that 10 minutes from your house is a movie producing company, I said, you and I are on the A-party list here in Scottsdale, and this is a very heavy-duty place with a lot of heavy-duty people. Do you know that we have a major film studio in your backyard?
I had no idea.
Me either. And I thought,
okay, I'm shocked. I'm thinking, as you're saying it, my brain left the podcast, and I'm like, who is it? What is it? Yeah.
Yeah, PureFlix right here at Legacy Boulevard in Pima.
No, that's
it's 70,000 square feet. They did the movie and made a lot of money with God's Not Dead.
Okay.
With Kevin Sorbo, who I love. Kevin Sorbo is one of the great humans and actors and thinkers and wise men of our time. And he and I, if you walked in here, I'd introduce you and you get him on your show when he's here.
I love that.
But we don't even know who lives here because it's so busy with great people. Anyhow, we go in there and they offer us $4 million and then they give us a producer and we meet the producer and the producer does horror. Well, I write heart-touching, soul-penetrating, family good
psycho
stuff.
Killer.
Yeah, not psycho killer. And I said, I've never wanted to give money back to anybody, but giving back $4 million, this has got to be the toughest job I've ever had. Here's your $4 million back, and unless you'll change, and they said, no, we got a contract, and we got to do 8 shows with them. And I go, yikes, that's a dumbass contract as far as I'm concerned. And I'm in judgment, and I know don't judge and be not judged, but it wouldn't work for us. So now we're out raising $30 million, and we're going to do 3 because she's written 3 killer movies. What I said is that she will become the next Harry Potter because everyone who reads it. Now let me even do a full circle. Ladies and gentlemen, when you write giant goals, you meet giants. If you have no goals, you meet nobody because, I'm just doing the same old job again today, Dad. Not me. I'm doing something new and exciting, just like this show. We're having something new, and you're thinking new with me, and I'm thinking new with you. Our agent calls up and said, hey, the lady who's lawyer for Harry Potter, Ken,
threw it out there,
wants to meet you, and he makes $2 billion a year in licensing for her because you got kids. You've been to Universal Studios, right? When you go, some of you haven't been to Universal Studios. This is one in L.A. and there's one in Florida, of course. But Grampy's rich, so he takes the kids and you go that first ride and you drop 200 feet in 30 seconds, and some people lose their cookies, right? So they say, don't eat before you get in this ride. Anyhow, we do all that stuff, bought all the junk for them, the giant rolls and stuff that no human could ever eat one of those donuts. But
not at all.
And had great fun. But the point is, he's the one that licensed all that stuff, says, I want to do you guys. That doesn't sound right. I want
to produce this. Yeah.
No, he said, I want to be your lawyer. And you go, holy cow, we wanted to get with her, but she's shy. She's reclusive, I think is the right word. She doesn't want to meet anyone. And she is a phenomenal writer. I'm not taking anything away from her. And she's a phenomenal businessman. I was on 50 million Diet Coke cases a month for 6 months, sold so many books. I did our book, Chicken Soup with the Romantic Soul, next to Nora Roberts' Hidden Riches, and we made enough money we gave 10% back to get 15,000 kids into Boys and Girls Clubs. Because the deal is you got to create, and that's what all entrepreneurs got to do. You're here to create. You find a problem, and the bigger the problem, the better. And there's a lot of big problems that look unsolvable, but think of all the unsolvable problems. One guy has got 8 unsolvable problems solved. Elon Musk is my hero, and I think yours, right? I mean, he's figured out how to do stuff. Not only, he doesn't do a car business, he does an electric car. Now it's a robo-taxi, and now not only is a robo-taxi, but next year he's going to have a flying taxi. So I will fly from my house, which is only 15 minutes from here, to here, and I'll be there in 1 minute, and I'll own it, and you'll own it. Right? But you won't even own it. It's going to be a robo, which means you pay some sort of subscription licensing fee, and it's just going to pick you up, and it gets cleaned every time after every person. I mean, he's got this thing
He's solving traffic.
It ends traffic. It ends
traffic.
Accidents.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd say, well, it's not too good for PI lawyers, personal injury lawyers, but it's good for you and I. I mean, I want my kids safe, you safe, me safe.
Yeah, get you off the road.
Yeah. I don't need to drive from here to L.A.
So he asked a question Someone said, man, they make a statement. Somebody says, man, it's too much traffic. And he asks, how can I solve that?
He hated the traffic going from L.A. to his shop. And he said, I'm going to end this. And one of he's got 4 solutions, but the other one was the boring temple, which now, boring, you call it an auger? The thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Vegas,
it's 300 feet. Yeah, and it takes 3 minutes to get from the airport to downtown instead of 15 minutes in traffic. And just you're going to go, and you're going to be there.
That's incredible.
I mean, and by the way, he's building the new cars. Everyone says, well, cars can take you 2 weeks to build. Henry Ford took 2 months to build one car. Well, he said, that's a dumb idea. Why don't we just have it on an assembly line? He makes a car every 17 seconds. And he said, I'm going to get it down to 4 seconds because you and I can walk along so I can see if anything's going wrong when they're making the car. And they make it all compressed with 50,000 pounds of pressure. They have all the parts sitting there, and then the chassis comes and goes, and you watch it, and it's painted, and it's done, and you go, and then you say, well, why is he doing that? Well, he did that so he could get the contract. I mean, this guy's got the 5-year goals. See, I taught how to think bigger than you ever thought you could think. I wrote the book. I made the tapes. But he's teaching me at levels I never thought you could do. He wrote down, I'm going to Mars, but to go to Mars, I got to be able to go to the moon, and I got to have a reusable spaceship. 50 years we've been paying $2 billion a year to NASA, and they've done nothing. We've not gone anywhere. Now he's figured out how to land the spaceship and have it hooked so you can reuse it, and it's like, you and I have flown Southwestern, and it flips it in 3 minutes. So people get off, get on, and it goes back.
That's amazing.
And he's going to have 100 million tons of stuff on the moon because there's no gravity on moon. So they're going to attach it down, and then he'll fly straight to Mars. Well, what's he doing? I'm a stockholder in Tesla. I'm not bragging, but it's a really good idea because he's going to do
Since
30
2015,
trillion.
I've been playing with that one.
Yeah, but all he had to do is $8 trillion, and he gets paid $1 trillion. Nobody, as you and I as entrepreneurs, nobody's ever gotten $1 trillion. Not Andrew Carnegie, maybe Rockefeller, maybe.
He did it in a fraction of the time.
Fractions, I think. The point is, he said, I'm not getting it for me. I'm going to go to the Mars, and we're going to have 1 million people go to Mars, and I'm going to pay for it, and we've figured out how to do it.
So he figured out how to do it later. Ask first, figure it out later.
Yeah. By the way, that's the how. Remember, when I'm a little kid, I want the bicycle. I don't really want to sell greeting cards, but the bicycle's here, the greeting cards are here. If I sell enough greeting cards, I get that. Then at 16, I saw the Beatles, and I said, I don't know how to play an instrument even, but I started a rock group, and in 2 weeks, I memorized 50 songs. I'm a bass player, but I know how to sell. So I had this fully booked, and then pretty soon I'm making $5,000 a night, which is more than my dad was making a year. As a little rock star, and my group was called the Messengers, which my wife said is prophetic for what I do for a
messenger.
Because you're in communication, I am,
yeah.
And I communicate through every vehicle I can figure out how to do.
I'm loving this because I've been with you several times. I've seen you at all kinds. I've seen you at functions. I've seen you. We've been to lunch. You're always on because people a lot of times think when they hear this, like, oh, okay, well, you try on mindset, you try on asking, you try on personal development, you try on like it's an outfit, like it's a suit you put on. This is a lifestyle for you, correct?
Yeah, I'm 77, but I'm having the most fulfilled life. I mean, we've been to a lot of functions together. Your wife, my wife, us. And we're always having fun, and we know plenty of the players.
Yes.
And they, unless you tell me something, I'm not saying everyone likes me or you, because that probably is not true. They don't. I don't know. Okay. Some people just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you want to tell if you liked or not? Go post something on the internet, and you'll find out very quickly people don't even like themselves. And they put it out on you.
And by the way, during COVID, which was a hoax, as you know, and most people out there hope I know, is that, I got censored. I was doing a talk with 500 people out here at Wild Horse, and I said something that only God can create. And I flipped out 4 atheists in the group, and they said they paid a lot of money to be here, and they think you're obnoxious. And I said to the promoter, I said, well, you paid me all right, but I think they're obnoxious if you're going to pull me off stage. I've never been censored, and, wow. I've been doing this for decades, 4 decades plus, and I've never been censored, and it really hurt my heart. But I'm sorry that they not believe in God. They can be an atheist or an agnostic, but the first line in the Bible, in the beginning God created, that's Elohim. That's what we've been talking about here. Out of nothing, you make something.
Yep.
Out of nothing, I sold potholders. Then I sold greeting cards. Then I sold the band. Then I sold speeches because I sold my own speeches. I didn't have a booking company. I was the booking company. And I'd book 4 talks at each thing. And I mean, when Chip went on vacation that first day, he comes back 2 weeks later, and I had 28 talks booked, more than he did. And he said, how'd you do that? I said, I just kept every time I did a talk, back then, you may not be old enough to remember, we didn't have a cell phone. I had $2 worth of dimes in my pocket.
I'm older than you think I am. I remember using the phone, yes.
Oh, good.
Well, hey guys, I want to take a quick opportunity right now and remind you that Average Sucks is not just an incredible podcast, it is a way of life, it is a way of being, and the title of my best-selling book that shows you step by step. I literally walk through exactly how in my life and in the lives of our incredible students, I showed them how to live an above average life, whether it's in your business, whether it's with your finance, with your health, any area of your life that you're looking to scream those words, average sucks, get to the next level, get out of your box in life. This book will show you exactly how to do it. Get your copy at averagesucks.com or Amazon or wherever books are sold. Get your copy right away and get out there and start living a life that screams average sucks. Get the book.
So what happened is Crystal and I said, wait a second, we can't let the book business die. It's too critical. It's the only thing that lasts forever. And we write biographies, fiction, nonfiction, but the biographies are the big deal we like, because I've read 6,000 biographies. People come up to me and say, do you read Ted Turner's? And I can tell you exactly what he said and what he meant and what his 10 principles were, because my mind is perfect on that. I don't know why I'm so lucky. But so one of my best friends for 30 years is John Paul DeJoria. Now, you know
a great cover.
JP, yeah. Isn't that fun? So JP is, he's been my friend 30 years.
You guys did this book?
What?
You guys did this book?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. See, Mark Victor Hansen Library.
Yeah.
No, we're a legit publisher.
Yeah, I know you are.
We're to 39,000 distributors.
That's a legit human.
Oh, can I tell you 2 or 3 stories?
I'd love to.
So,
and that book's not even out yet, is it?
April 3rd.
So they can't even get that yet.
No. You got to buy it, pre-buy it now, and you'll get it April 3rd. But you get this when I leave. I'll sign it to you if you want the publisher.
I'd love
you're going to read it before you interview him. Yeah. And you'll love him. But he's 21 years old and got a 4-year-old kid already, and he's walking up the stairs after selling encyclopedias door to door. Collier, hard job, and not too good at it at that just that juncture. Because they're like $400, and not everybody he was in the wrong neighborhood, I think. But anyhow, he's walking upstairs. His wife said, "Throw me the keys to the car." He throws the keys. He said, "There's a note on our 4-year-old John Anthony. It'll tell you what to do." The note said, "I emptied the bank accounts. I emptied the credit cards. I got the keys." I get goosebumps. This is a chicken soup story par excellence.
Wow.
You're never going to see me again. Adios, sayonara. Not knowing that, first of all, he had a little motorcycle, so he goes up to, L.A., Griffith Park. Hell's Angels had dinner there every night, and so he goes, and he's not Hell's Angels, but he said, "Look, I'm down on my luck. This happened." They fed him. The Hell's Mama said, "We will take care of little John Anthony." And he said, "Good, then I'll keep you selling." Well, now every year at Christmas, he buys gifts for everybody in Hell's Angels because they took care of him. He does the most wonderful stuff, because the title of the book is Success Without Sharing His Failure. So he starts this company with another guy called Paul Mitchell Hare. Now they're in 37,000 beauty salons, 103 countries. This is an enormous empire. Then he likes tequila, so he makes a new tequila called Patron, and it's the most expensive, and he said they didn't even sell. He sells 100 million bottles a month, then he sells it to Bacardi for $5.2 billion. I mean, he owns 40 companies, 3 gold mines. He is so good, but he's down in the Caribbean, and he sees this island die because of the hurricane. Here, there are 2 islands next to each other, Barbuda next to Antigua, and Barbuda's dead. The hurricane smashed it. So he said, I'm going to change this, because remember, success without sharing, John Paul DeJoria says, is failure. So he hires the top ichthyologist. Do you know what an ichthyologist is?
I don't know.
It's a fish doctor, basically. But
literally?
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
He brings back the coral, he brings back the turtles, he brings back the fish, he makes it hurricane-proof. Everyone said you can't do it, but remember, if you're well-educated, you think it can't be done.
He asked a different question.
He asked a different question, and education never got in his way of him really learning and him thinking, because he's a monster good thinker, as you'll see, and he's got different solutions than anyone. Now he bought the island, he's made the biggest golf course, the biggest resort, 100% employment. He's turning around all of the Caribbean to make it hurricane-proof.
That's amazing.
No one ever...
Hurricane-proof.
You can't have it be hurricane-proof. Who do you think you are, Chip? I mean, that's the kind of crap people gave him. They say, I know you're John Paul DeJoria, but you can't make... Well, he does that. He has 12 houses around the world, and he gave us... We were going to Hawaii, and we'd rented a hotel. I used to own a $4 million house on Kona Bay Estates, which was terrific, but we sold it and all that. But he said, you can't go stay in a hotel. I said, why, JP? He said, I own a 28,000 square foot Balinese mansion. I want you to take it while you're there. There are people taking care of it. I'll just call them and tell them you're coming. You got a car waiting for you. And I go, holy cow. We get there, and it's so beautiful. I can show you pictures on the phone at lunch if you've got time. But it's so mind-blowing, but there's no internet because you're out in the middle of nowhere on the big island, right? His next-door neighbor is a guy who created Medtronics, who I did a whole book with, Dr. Earl Bach, and the guy who created the pacemaker, which I said, Earl, you saved my dad's life. You lived 28 years longer because you created back then it was big and ugly. Now it's because of chips. Chips are now, we're making them here. I know I'm doing 2 or 3 things at once. Is it making sense?
No, totally.
Okay, because the guy we're doing the biography and the guy who's building the $200 billion Taiwanese semiconductor right here in Harquahala, Buckeye, you'd call it. Oh my God. And the chip they're making is 1/80th the thickness of your hair. This is like, the chip, we're going to put stuff in us. We're in the most exciting time in history, which is why I've got this new book coming out called 1 Minute Millionaire, I wrote a long time ago, called America's Golden Age, because we are in the most extraordinary time if you're awake. Now, if you're asleep and you read legacy media, oh man, I'm not sure it's too good this year. Oh man, Mike, I'm not sure you're telling the truth here. I don't know if I can make it. I might get fired because of this crazy ass AI stuff. No, AI is an enabler. It's here to help you become 100% all you can be.
Because you don't have to waste time.
I went too far with him.
No, it's great. I love this.
John Paul DeJoria. So his main house for tax purposes is Austin, Texas. He's next door to Joe Rogan, so he's done okay. Anyhow, he sees people hungry there, and he now feeds 40,000 people a night, and he tests every one of them and says, wait a second, you shouldn't be on the street. You shouldn't be homeless. I was homeless twice, so this is not like, he didn't do it personally, now he's got staff, but they test everybody, and he gets jobs for absolutely half of them, 50%.
Wow. Because he wants to give back.
And that's what we need to do, because most of these institutions where the government runs it, they keep them poor because they keep stealing our money. I'm really crass about I think our government's starting to go in the right direction, but for years it has been going in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned.
No, I mean, if you notice what people are doing, the idea as human beings, if we can share and we can do something and go be great and give back, that's the power of it all. I mean, that's really, I love that. I love the title.
Yeah. What you just said though is, look, if God made the universe and it's 15 billion years old and there's trillions of suns, it's abundant.
Yep.
And right here, because you and I are in Arizona, you got Michael Crow and his right hand, Dr. Howard, who I'm meeting with next week. They're pulling back an asteroid to Earth. It's going to be worth $4 quadrillion worth of metals. And we're going to pay off the whole national debt. Why? No one ever asked the right question before.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard. So we're going to get an asteroid. We're going to get metal. We're going to melt it down.
Yeah, it's got gold and copper and silver and all the rare earths in this big asteroid. And we can only do it because Elon Musk created Starlink so we could see it and created SpaceX, right?
SpaceX, yeah.
SpaceX, I got the right name. I just don't want to confuse him with the other guy, right? And he's bringing back all this stuff. And we're going to have anything you want because there's always been abundance if you ask questions of how do you get abundant. That's why I always ask everybody, what did you do today to make God smile?
That's a great question.
What did you do today?
What I do today, when I woke up this morning and I went to talk to my little one this morning, this was a big thing. She goes, Daddy, do you got a minute? And immediately in my brain, I'm like, I got somewhere to be. I said, actually, I have more than a minute. And we sat down and we talked.
No, that's way more important than whoever you're going to meet, me or anyone.
No, yes. So we sat down, we chat.
I'm in and out.
We chat for a minute. And I thought about that, and I said, we talked for a little bit, and we talked for a couple of minutes, and then we sat down. We just did something simple. I was with Joe Polish and Dr. Phil the other day.
I love those guys.
Those guys, and he said, take a moment and talk to your kids about the little things, because if you don't talk about the little things, they won't talk to you about the big things. And I immediately felt like I got that message, I implemented it, and it was a special moment for me today. It was just it's not that I'm always available, but it was in this moment I stopped myself and go, wait a second, that was an auto program. What's going on? And 2 seconds of just having a conversation was massive. So I figured God smiles when we take care of His children.
That is wonderful, and that's what we do with our grandkids. We got a big house up here on McDowell, and the grandkids have the two grandkids swim still are little, so they sleep together. But the big brother's there, and then we got mats for the rest of the kids, and they can talk to us about absolutely anything because their parents aren't around.
Yep.
And they'll tell us stuff their parents will never ever hear, and they're not going to hear it from us either.
Yep.
Because I get goosebumps on this, and I want to almost cry because I hear stuff that you go, wow, because they have their own suffering and their own grievances, their own pain. They hate the little guy that is a bully on the thing, and we teach them, I said, look, you're taking martial arts. There's no choice in my family. You're going to be a martial artist because nobody takes care of my granddaughters. They bully them. They get taken out probably if they don't stop.
They need to get taken out.
Yeah. And everybody in the family knows that at that level, Grampy's really tough. He's a martial artist, and there's levels, but you got to have some lines in the sand, right? There's a lot of lines in Grampy's sand, and they know you got to earn your own money. They know that I wrote this book, Relentless. I didn't write it, actually. It's my biography by Mitzi Perdue. She's 84, and look at that.
I haven't read this yet.
No, you get it when we get done. Get it close up so Chip can look at it, both sides. Doesn't she look good?
Yeah. How old?
84.
You look right there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, tell the story.
No, you and I are supposed to be ageless. You're not supposed to get older. You're supposed to get better.
All right. This is like, that's impressive.
But you know who she is once I tell you. So she, the backdrop, just real quick, she's in Egypt in the temple, and the head of Verizon is changing the sounds, and they're watching the building morph. Because that building was built by vibration. There's no human could have built that. We still can't build the pyramids. Just like I opened up the pyramids in Guatemala. We can't build them. We don't know how to levitate. These guys knew how to levitate. And somehow the dumbass Spaniards came in and burned all their records. She's there and getting wowed, and she's with the smartest guy at West Point ever is my friend Brad Rotter. And Brad said, you want to talk to the world's best-selling author? I said, I'd be intimidated. Now, she's super smart, like so smart you can't believe it. Head of her class at Harvard under Henry Kissinger years ago. And her daddy started the Sheraton hotel chain and built 400 hotels during the Depression by taking care of all of his people on the inside so they'd take care of the people that came and stayed. So he built the first hotel chain, Sheraton Hotel. So she's the only double heiress. Then she marries.
She's an heiress of the Sheraton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's an heiress twice. So then she marries Frank Perdue, the guy, remember the chicken?
Yeah, Frank Perdue. Frank Perdue.
Tough man
to make a chicken. Yeah.
And I burned the hair off my chickens with a 747 engine.
Perdue oven stuffer roasters. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, you buy our chickens, I'm sure you remember at Costco, right?
Yeah.
Costco chicken is cheaper if you buy it cooked than if you buy it raw, right? It's $4.99 if you buy it cooked. It's their lost leader. It's $11.99 if you buy it otherwise. She does 22 million chickens a week for Costco. So Brad Rotter introduced her to me. Crystal and I get with her. We absolutely had a Vulcan mind meld. We had a mastermind. She said, would you let me write your biography? Look, I'm going to turn down one of the best writers in the world. Now, we have 40 of the most phenomenal writers writing for Mark Victor Hansen Library for us, like what happened with JP's book. But she just wrote this, and you'll have fun. There's a lot of great pictures of me back in the band and everything. So, but everybody's got to have a biography, and I want to write yours too, because you can't write you could. Then it's called an autobiography.
Yeah, it's automatic, but it's not the right one.
Yeah, but remember, when we do a biography, we have all these other people looking at you with a different lens. And I said, look, do the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's the 20 people I want you to interview. Bob Proctor, everybody that was anybody in my life. And even, my own brothers would give me crap, so they told her what they think about me. Because truth is, I think they're jealous, but that's a whole different issue.
That's a different conversation. Yeah, that's a different conversation.
And that's their problem, not mine. I'm not jealous of you or anyone. I mean, you and I have been, look at the great people we hang around. Are we jealous of any of them?
No.
I'm proud to be friends with everybody we've talked about.
I don't think we're going to heal jealousy for people. I don't think that's a healable thing. I think they could choose to do something with it, but I tell this to my kids, the better you do, you don't always make friends.
Yeah, you're going to get a target.
Yeah, you get a target on you.
Because you're going to win at stuff that they're losing at because they don't cultivate the mindset.
Yep. Like Jim used to say, all good will be attacked. And that was The Art of Exceptional Living. I think he said that. He goes, the rule from the Bible, all good will be attacked. And I remember Jim saying that. And so when you do something good or you make something great, you'll be attacked. And I think it's attacked to see if it's sturdy. Can you handle the adversity? Are you capable of doing that? So I feel like the better I've ever done at anything and more competitive I get, the more, not enemies you get, the more attacks are on you. And I think then that's God testing you to see if you really want to go to the next level.
Right, because there's sheep, and then there's sheep in
the sheepers.
Wolf clothing.
Yeah, and they come out in every which way. So let me ask you this, because I'm so excited about what you've got going on. So if I'm following the lineage of this, you guys figured it out with the first series with Chicken Soup years ago. And then you go, people want books, personal development, nonfiction, biography is absolutely amazing. And you figured out not only how to write it, how to tell the story, how to sell it, figured it all out. When did this, the Mark Victor Hansen library, the publishing company, come about? Who's right for that? How does it work? Because there's a lot of people potentially watching this right now. There are tribal leaders of their groups. They're entrepreneurs. They could use a book. They could use a biography. And I know that you're a valid source of someone that could give them knowledge because A, you've done it before, and B, you got these 40 incredible writers to do it. Who's right for this and who's wrong? And I'd love to know, because you could say everybody needs one and they might, but maybe people aren't ready yet. So who's right? Who's righter? And how does someone then make that happen?
By the way, I love the way you ask a question. No one ever asks it. First of all, everybody has a book in them.
Yep.
And everybody has a story.
Yep.
And life is a story. And when it's done, all you get is your story, right?
Yes.
Even when you go to the other side, it flashes back. But we do fiction, nonfiction for $29,900, $30,000.
No horror.
No horror.
Yeah.
No, we won't.
You got a $4 million money back. Yes.
No. They're, and we do turn down people. We're not hard and harsh and ugly. Remember, Jack and I had 144 rejections, which we never showed our wives because, look, you're smarter than this. One, the guys in New York at Random House, they know you're an idiot. Just believe them, right? And we didn't. And then when we did find a publisher, Health Communication, we had to sell $20,000 at $6 each. We had to sign to $120,000. We also didn't tell our wives because you want to get cut off for 2 weeks. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah. So it wasn't a home run right off the bat.
No, it wasn't run. By the way, and a lot of them came and said, "I always wanted your book, but the rest of the people voted against you because we're Random House or we're Simon Schuster or we're Hay House and we know short stories don't sell." Well, I said I never was doing short stories. I wrote the first 65 stories. They're heart-touching, soul-penetrating stories because I'm the seminal writer, and Jack is unequivocally a Latin scholar and the best editor. I mean, when he finishes a book, there's no edit, nothing else
incredible.
needed. He's amazing. He's a great friend still. He's older than I am and retired, but he says, which I told him, Jack, you're retiring like Frank Sinatra. I'm having my reunion in my 50th comeback, right? Because if you're really working and you love what you do, it's not work, and you can't. You go take a rest, but don't retire. But he's retired, he says. I don't think so, but I know I shouldn't probably give that opinion on the air, but that's what I believe.
If it makes it to the show, it made it, and we'll have to have that opinion out there.
Yeah, right. He'll call up and say, "Why do you say that?"
Why don't you come down? We'll talk about it.
By the way, Jack, the guy's show that I was just on that you just got done watching, he wants you on the show.
Go on the show, and then we can talk about you can solve the problem.
And by the way, he does take my telephone calls, so don't worry, I can get you on the show, and I know his producer, Chip, pretty well, too.
Yeah. That's classic. So if somebody, so you books in everybody, who's it right for? Who is the ideal person that Mark Victor Hansen Libraries is correct for?
Right now, we're dealing with the rich, successful entrepreneur because we think America's gone into a time when it's been lackadaisical and lazy, and it's got to come back. And we're helping billionaires who did it, who don't think they got a story, and we're pulling it out of them. Like Alligator Ron is a guy who started at 16. The first thing he bought was a bulldozer, and he's basically built the Highway 95. He's built the Miami airport. He owns 20,000 acres of the back thing. And Alligator Ron is a Horatio Alger Award winner like I am, which means you come from rags to riches, been excessively philanthropic. You get it in the Supreme Court, you get a gold medal by the judge I like the most, Clarence Thomas. It's the only award given in the U.S. Supreme Court. There's I don't think, any higher business award. And I've got a lot of awards. Salesman of the year, all that kind of stuff. A lot of awards. So, and I'm very thankful, knock on wood. I'm not knocking any other award. That's just the penultimate. And so I met Alligator Ron, and we were going to Florida to meet the guy I traveled and studied in India with years ago. And I called up, he said, "Well, I want you to come out to dinner when you come here and we'll talk about doing my biography." And he's so funny because he says, "I'm so busy, I'm as busy as a one-legged cowboy in an ass-kicking contest." he can't help but be funny. He's just, he's Robin Williams in a non-traditional sense is a superstar businessman. So I call him up and say, "Well, we're here." I said, "But I got my two friends with." He said, "4 of you, come. It's my birthday. You're coming to my dinner." And I thought, there'd be a couple hundred people there. There's 1,400 people. I think, well, I'm arriving, and holy crap, we're going to sit in the outback. I mean, I called them a day ago. Instead, they say, "Oh, no, Ms. Hansen and the Tuckers, you guys are at the head table." I get goosebumps saying, I didn't deserve to be at that. I mean, we're friends like that. Now we're friends like this because we're doing this biography, but I didn't ever expect it. And then we meet all of his kids. We meet his wife, Alligator Alley, who happened to be an attorney, but her dad was head of Cuba when Castro came in and took over, and the whole family had to leave. So what I'm saying is everybody's got a story, and she was afraid, sorry if I hit your mic, afraid to tell the story. He said, I'm just what does he call himself? He said, I'm a cracker. And I said, what's a cracker? I thought it was some racist term. He says, no. All the cattle came off the ship from Spain here, and the cattle got away, the horses got away, and a cracker is a guy who cracks a whip and collects them. And he's a great horseman. I mean, you can see, he always wears alligator boots and shoes and coats and sleeves because he wrestles alligators. And I'll show you a picture when we're together. I'm holding a 4-year-old alligator that has mouth taped, and Crystal's going, they can whip the tail and kill you. I said, I know, but I got his tail, I hope, strongly under my arm. And we got great pictures with the alligator. This is what I mean, is if you write a book, you get to go places you can't go any other way. As many speeches as you can give, and I thought I used to be able to talk. You can't talk to 8 billion people. You can get a book to 8 billion people. And I'm going to be the first publisher that does that, because we were just at dinner a short time ago with, have you watched The Chosen by chance?
I haven't seen it. It's on my list of things.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's on Netflix. So I'm not trying to sell anything, but they're now, the guys with Hobby Lobby who make $500 million a year and did Museum of the Bible and all that, they're putting it in 647 languages just like that.
The Chosen?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I talked to the Greens and I said, hey, can we use that for our books? And they said, well, why do you want to do that? I said, look, I'm with my buddy Michael, and he and I want our books in Swahili. Why should somebody that speaks Swahili not be allowed to read our stuff, learn the principles, the principle? Whether you speak English or Swahili or Telugu or Cantonese or Hindi or whatever, it doesn't matter to me, or Chinese or Mandarin, right? It doesn't matter what. Everybody should have the principles. You and I are successful because of principles. A principle's like gravity, You wake up in the morning, your foot goes down. It doesn't go to the top.
Yep, every single time.
If you're on the moon, we got a different problem. You got to have gravity shoes. But here on Earth, we know that principle. You and I know money-making principles, so you earn all you can, save all you can, invest all you can, so you can contribute all you can. And you came here with a unique destiny to do something nobody else can do.
That's the truth.
And therefore, Bucky Fuller used to teach me, you don't own you, universe owns you, and you came here with some sort of obligation. I'm not telling you what your obligation is, but what we're saying in our Ask book is you go to bed at night and say 101 times, God and me knows my destiny, God and me knows my destiny, God and me knows my destiny. And when it comes out, then you have a pen and paper next to the bed and you write down whatever it is. And you got to write it down in full, so you got to tell your sweetheart or loved one, I'm going to get up in the middle of the night, I'm going to have to turn on a light, because if Mark's telling the truth, and he is, I got to write down in detail what's going to happen.
And that's the process.
It's that simple, but nobody does it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll remember tomorrow, Chip. Don't you worry, I got it. No, you won't remember. Every one of us has had these phenomenal ideas, right? Go inside the secret place of the Most High and get still and know that I'm God. You got God in you, that you were imploded, but we all got amnesia at birth. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's amazing you say this, because I share all the time. I said one of those powerful things we have in life is when we sleep, our unconscious mind is activating whatever it is we did prior. And most people are sitting on their phones, watching someone else's story, living out what factories in Silicon Valley and Madison Avenue decided for your life to think about.
Right.
And what you're saying is take the power back. And,
bingo.
And literally ask if there was a way that I could get the things I want, what I could do. I'm asking myself, my unconscious mind, God, faith, whatever it is, you're going to command of yourself is your higher self. And by asking of that, then you get the answers. So the answers are inside of us. You just have to ask.
That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Every single highly performance successful person, it's like, I remember hearing this a while ago. They said there's probably about 4 things that every high performance does, and there's 9 million things that don't work. And then everybody wants to know the 9 million, get through them all, but it's 4. It's trusting yourself, don't care what other people think. What would you add to that list?
Yeah. No, first of all, own your own light. That's why it says take the bushel off.
Light.
Own your own light.
Ooh, that's good.
Because all of us got
light. Is that
light.
biblical? Own your own light? Or is that Mark Victor Hansen special?
That's a Mark Victor Hansen book coming out soon, and I
Own
want to
your
talk to you about
light.
doing a seminar here called Own Your Own Light.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. You either turn it up or you turn it down. When the teacher said you got ADD, what's she trying to do? She's trying to turn you down. She's trying to calm you down. You are irascible in this class, or whatever the hell she said. And then she wrote a note to your mother, and your mother's looking and go, God, he's that way at home. But why is he that way at school? He's supposed to be a good boy and shut up and listen. No, you and Tommy Mello and obviously I promise you, our friend Alligator Ron and These guys, they all go into the fourth dimension and they start to go, what is possible? I mean, the guy who owns the most land here that's building the Taiwanese semiconductor, he bought the land out in Harquahela, which is Buckeye to you, but the biggest part of land, he's got water for Arizona for the next 1,000 years, right? But if you don't know water is going to be a problem, you don't buy land. In case you didn't know it, we're surrounded here. It's called a valley and surrounded by mountains. The rain came down. We used to be 150 years ago the cotton capital. That's why right next to Buckeye is a city called Goodyear. Yeah. They made the tires. Goodyear tires were made out of cotton.
Wow.
We grew all the cotton right here. But the people in the city said, wait a second, we're going to make real money here. We're not doing that. We're going to shunt that water down to Buckeye. Well, they shunted it down to Buckeye. Great idea, maybe. But they thought the water would go to Buckeye, and you look at the map, it's got to go south, right? It's going to go to Mexico. Everyone knows that. All you got to do is look at the map. It's that way south. But they didn't know. There's granite, and there's marble. Stop the water. We got water in Buckeye. One guy owns it, Conley, 8,000 feet deep. We got the next 1,000 years of perfect
So everybody's
water.
saying we have no water here, but we have water.
Right. Back to what you said about 8 paragraphs ago about abundance, I want to say, look, there's fundamental, I hope I'm not shouting at you.
This is great. No, I love it. Keep going.
Yeah, there's fundamental abundance in the universe. Universe has got everything you need, and the Bible says it's closer than your breath, nearer than your hands and feet. But if you think this is a desert, there's no water, you're going to go, no water, I'm not going to look for it. Change the context and say, where's the water? There's always water, there's always resources, there's always whatever you need. We've never had a shortage. You've gotten to eat every day. Well, let's do it something simple. There's never been a day that you weren't able to breathe, or you and I wouldn't be sitting here. And you got to give a breath to take a breath. There's fundamental air. But now a greedy person, which means they come out of need and shortage and belief systems that are in lack, limitation, shortage, and not enough. You and I believe there's more than enough. If you come out of the eyes, the perception of there's more than enough, you find more than enough. Come out of the perception, you're kidding, there's no water here, you idiot. This is a desert. Don't you know deserts are dry or wet? Dry. No, they're not. I mean, the people live in the Sahara, what do they do? You saw that, oh God. God's Not Dead, that movie a long time ago.
Long time ago.
What do? They take the moisture off of big palm leaves every morning, and they get 8 glasses of water off of palm leaves.
So it's all there. You just have to ask the right question and be willing to look.
But let's go to the bigger level, right here in Arizona. Cody Friesen, I've been at the Innovation Center here at ASU. If you haven't been through it, I want you to go through it. So what has he done? He's created the way to take water out of air cost effectively, right? We got all the solar
water
energy.
Out of air.
Yeah, it's just condensation. It's no different than the condensation on that leaf, but he's now taking it out of the air. But it does 2 things you and I want. You want clean air and you want clean water. The water's pure. There's nothing in it. It's pure. He's pulling it out, and there's 15 trillion gallons of water every day around the earth. Well, you can't run it out. It just recycles. You and I drink it, we pee it out, and then it vaporizes and goes
And then we make more.
Yeah. By the way, there's no more water coming to this earth. Right? And that's what Alon's saying. Look, when we go to the moon, we got to take everything we need there. So I got to need 100 million tons of stuff, including water that we're going to recycle forever, and then go to Mars. But Mars has frozen, I don't want to take you there, but there's plenty of water on Mars. Mars used to be a planet like ours, and then it moved out. Satellites expand and go that way from the sun.
Really?
Yeah.
This is a whole nother episode we're going to do. This expansion.
I hope you'll have me back.
I'm enjoying this. I'll tell you, the biggest thing I'm loving about this conversation is the expansion of thought. And being willing to think bigger, whether it's thinking bigger about yourself to get a book out there to the world, or thinking bigger about what you want, or asking bigger about everything. You don't put any limitations on yourself, do you?
No.
You answered that so confidently. No,
because and you got to model the people like Elon Musk. I mean, now he's all signal, no noise.
Yes.
So if you came in there and you start asking, well, how are you and how are your 14 kids?
He don't care.
Probably not. Yeah, they're fine.
It's not that he doesn't care. He'll answer the question simply.
No, but
I've learned that about. They don't want to do small talk.
No. He wants to go right to what is, and he operates in 5-minute quadrants, which is, I can't do that. I need to, I need to ask you about your wife and all that, and how's business and that. But he goes, and he's pulling off stuff that what he's showing is what I'm writing about now. What is the level of potential? I mean, everybody my age could do 100 push-ups, but I'm the only one I know that's 77 that wakes up and does 100 push-ups and then does the rest of stuff and goes to the villages and works out with our friend Mr. Hamburger, who's a Marine
Marine,
yeah, muscles on his muscles and a great friend of both of ours.
I love him.
Yeah,
he moved to Florida. Great guy.
I mean, we're glad he's on our side.
Yeah. Well, I figured it's the first phone call we ever had a problem. He's the first phone call. We have a plan of where we go if there was ever a problem.
Yeah. Mr. Hamburger, what is it we're doing here, sir?
Exactly. Yes.
And
Mr.
he said, if anything goes wrong in a neighborhood, just call.
Yeah, I said, he would handle it.
You know, our house is at the top of the hill, and all the neighbors are pretty well
equipped.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you for leaving it there.
You like that word? Yeah, I like that a lot. So any other final thoughts? I mean, I could talk for days on this. Any other? How do people find you online? What is the best way?
Well, they can always type in my name, but what I'd like them to
Google.
Go to
Google. Mark Victor Hansen.
Go to Mark Victor Hansen Library if you want to do a book, either fiction, nonfiction, or a biography. Biographies are an investment of $200,000 because they take 2 years, and we got to interview everybody: your wife, your kids, your employees, the people that are significant to your vendors, and the books are all phenomenal, like JP's.
Yep.
He said,
gorgeous book.
When he called me from Greece, he said, for 30 years you've told, because I had him talk at my seminars, and you don't pay a billionaire to come and talk at your seminars. It is, what am I going to pay? He said, I'm going to bring a few people, and I'd have them in the VIP thing, which cost me $500 extra for 3 days, and there'd be 20 people, and I go, holy mackerel. Yeah. But he would talk and he'd take pictures with everybody. And we all had a ball. But then he sends me this book and it's 19 pages. I said, JP, I love you, brother, but we call that a chapter in my business. You got to let me interview you. And we interviewed him and so intense. And he said, well, you interview me every day. We'll just get it done. And I thought, he said, just call Kelly Sellers, his secretary. And I call Kelly and I say, she said, Mark, you can't get on schedule for 3 months. I said, so that's the only problem we have. The delays are never on our side because we are working.
These are busy being productive.
All these guys are, and they're doing amazing stuff. I mean, I could talk about him for an hour, but he's going to talk for himself with you for an hour.
I'm excited about that.
Or more.
So they'll find you on go to your website. Yep. They'll go to your website. And then any other final thoughts, and I want to leave this open because we've covered a lot of stuff. If you were to sit down with anybody, let's just take a person watching this right now. We start off, it's all about them. And you were to sit down with somebody right now and you had 2 minutes and you really were going to take 70 years of entrepreneurship and dial it down to a task, an idea, a concept. And this was going to be something they were actually going to do. So everybody listening right now, I like that. I like the positioning right there. What would you encourage them to do with your best motivation, your best enthusiasm, your best speaker? If there's a 2-minute talk and you can get through to one person watching this, what would you want them to know?
If they could read the book Ask, do that. Otherwise, for free, just go to askthebookclub.com. Askthebookclub.com. We'll give you all the information you need, videos with Crystal and I and our sons and kids, and we'll just teach you how to become a master asker because there's an absolute abundance you can ask for. But if you don't ask, you don't get. It's just that simple, but it's so simple. In elementary, you've got to read it or listen to it or go online and listen to the tape. But Ask the Askers Book Club will make you a master asker if you do what we encourage you to do.
And that's what you want for everybody here.
And can I give a quick example of that?
Of course.
So I'm in London talking to 7,000 people, and this guys in the audience had no idea who's there. You get pictures with everyone, you know the game. And then I'm on the biggest podcast in London with Rob Moore, who, if you haven't been on the show.
No.
You do know him?
No, I don't know him.
Well, I'll get you on. Anyhow, he's a close friend. So I go in his podcast. The first thing he said to Crystal and I when we were selling Ask is he said, you goal shamed me. I went, oh, boy.
Goal shamed?
Oh, man. I've got 20 million people listening, and now I goal shamed this guy. I thought, holy cow, this is going to go south really quick. Because I never would have had an answer for that. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, you were talking to all those people, and you said you should have 101 goals, and when you hit one of them in purple, you write down next to it, you don't cross out milk, eggs, butter. I can now do 100 push-ups. I now made $1 million. You got to write 101 goals. And my goal teacher said you got to have 5 goals. I hit 4 a year. I hit 90%, I'll call it. And suddenly you expanded my whole thinking, my whole vision. So I wrote down 101 goals. And last year, because of you, I made it $30 million. I bought 750 properties here in London.
Wow.
He said, my kid is a martial artist, and he's the number one little 6-year-old martial artist. I said, way cool. What else? He said, and he went through this whole list, which I'm putting in a new book I'm writing right now called Money Wants You. And it just shows how you can get everything. But he's got the wife he wants, the house he wants, the vacations he wants, and you just start going through it because you start asking yourself, what is possible? Because there's nothing that's probably not possible.
You got to get comfortable with it. So last thought on this, when somebody starts to ask, because I know the feeling you get, it's no different than the uncomfortableness. Nobody wants to talk about this. When you write down goals, it's uncomfortable sometimes because you're like, is this really going to happen? You start getting the questions inside your head. What is the process for, if you were to give people to silence the inner voice when they start to ask, the inner critic? Any thoughts on that? I ask the interesting questions.
Whew. I've not heard that question either before.
I go ask for something. How can I get this?
Yeah. Then, well, we talk about the 7 things, and the inner critic is always going to be doubtful. What makes you think you can do it? You haven't made $1 million before. You haven't made 100,000. What makes you think you're going to make $1 million? Well, let's talk about that. So I'm now training insurance people to sell, and I'm on these big programs, the national programs with the world's best salesman. The guy's been on the cover of Forbes and the cover of Time, and they cover everything. Ben Feldman, he wears suits that are overpressed. Yep. Looks like he irons them himself, and he talks with a lisp. And I thought, and you're the best salesman in the world. And the way he got like he sold the guys at Amway, which were doing about $12 billion. Now they're doing $18 billion a year. And he went into the secretary and said, here's 5 $100 bills. Go into Rich DeVos and Jamie Allen and say, I'll give you $500 for 5 minutes of your time. Secretary went and said, here's $400 for 5 minutes of your time.
I took off the top.
So I'm sitting with this guy, and he's doing that as a joke. I'm sure she didn't steal 100, but maybe, who knows? I think it was a joke. So gets in and sells them the biggest insurance policy ever sold, and then he sells people like that. But he said he had package ideas. But Ben said, we're now at lunch alone, and everybody's afraid to talk to him because he had back 50 years ago, he was making $4 million a year waking up on just renewals from New York Life. Just renewals if he didn't work. And this guy can't not work. He said, you run and run and run. Right? And so he said, well, what are you making? I said, I thought I was such a big kid. I'm making $100,000 a year. He said, that's 250 work days, $400 a day if you give off all the holidays, Jewish, Christian, and Kwanzaa. I said, okay, good. And he said, if your daughter depended on it, could you make $4,000 in a day? I said, of course I would. He said, now just do that 250 times, 10, and you're $1 million. That's and I started doing that. It just changed your mind because you get out of fear. And you say, wait a second, this guy, if you looked at Ben, I love Ben. He was very nice to me. But, you look at him and go, you're the best salesman? I mean, holy cow. Yeah.
He's the one with the lisp?
Yeah.
That's impressive. So
by the way, the second best salesman was blind. No, he was deaf, and the third one was blind. The second best, the guy that's deaf, Paul Jeffers, who trained me, and I loved him. I said, Paul, what is the benefit of being deaf? Because he's a perfect lip reader. He says, I can't hear when they say no.
Oh, that's good. So just keep asking. They keep asking. I love that answer. That I've never heard before.
Yeah.
That's funny you mentioned a lisp. I picture Glenn Turner back in the day. Remember Glenn
Turner? Yeah.
Dare to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating.
And he, I don't know how much he really made, but for sure.
Told a good story.
Yeah, great story.
Told a great story. Great speaker. So I appreciate everything today. Loved having you on the show. I mean, super enjoy this. We can go in a million different directions. We're going to come back and talk Mars. We're going to come back and talk more about books. I'm excited when that book comes out, about meeting him. And I want to thank you and appreciate it. It's an absolute honor to have you here, my friend.
Ditto.
And excited to have you share with our world. And it's been amazing. Thank you. All right, listen, let me take this opportunity right now. Congratulate you for living a life that screams average sucks. How do I know that? You're listening to this right now, and I can guarantee you're a person that wants more in life. So 1, congratulations, and 2, I bet you're looking for a shortcut. How do I get there quicker? How do I make this stick more? And since 2008, the fastest way that we've showed people how to become a person that lives a life that screams average sucks, and on top of that, become a person of influence and get what they want in this world, is our Core Live event. We've got one coming up very soon. The website is simple, michaelbernoff.com/Core Live. All the information, all the videos, and everything is there to find out more. And also an incredible early bird special to give you a big old discount. Again, michaelbernoff.com/Core Live, and I'm excited to see you there.